All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is June 30th, the last day of June. Happy Friday to everyone out there. We got a full MLB slate to jump into today. Like we always do, I'm going to go through each and every game. We'll talk about the games. I'll give you my lean or leans on the games, but all my final plays will be in the pinned comments. So if you want to check those out, you can ride with me or you could fade me, guys. Last night was definitely a fadeable night as we go 1 and 3. The only thing we hit was Astros team total over 4.5, but I guess we were due for a bad day after 3 good days in a row, but I don't love to see it. Leaves a bad taste in my mouth. So let's close out June on a strong note. We've had a phenomenal June thus far, both in the game picks as well as player props. So hoping to close out June in a strong way, and we'll do a June recap in the next video. But before we do get to it, guys, I want to talk to you guys about Outlier, my favorite sports betting research tool. From game picks to player props to building parlays, Outlier is really, really cool. I highly encourage you guys to go check it out. They have a lot of cool features. And I just was on a call with the Outlier guys yesterday, and they threw out a really cool feature that I wasn't really even aware of. So if we check it out here, right, this is the Outlier home screen here. They have the insights, which are the trending plays, things you might not find on your own, but they kind of do the heavy lifting for you. But they also have this picks tab right here, which these are all of the FanDuel pre-made parlays, and you can see how many people are on it, how many people have taken it and put money into it. So 45K, excuse me, is on this parlay right now. You can kind of see where it is trending and where guys are taking, or where they're trending in terms of their last 10. So it is really cool to be able to see a parlay from a scoped out version and say, okay, well, Fernando Tatis Jr. over 1.5 bases, that seems minus 140 on DraftKings right now is best odds. Over on FanDuel, again, this is a built parlay. It seems like that might make sense, but he hasn't hit this in 5 straight games, that type of thing. Maybe that isn't a parlay we jump into. So a lot of cool things over on Outlier as of right now, and a lot of cool things coming as well, as I talked to the guys yesterday. So definitely go check it out. Use the link in the description as well as the pinned comment. You can get a 7-day free trial, guys. Perfect way to start your January, yikes, your July if you do go check it out. And again, the worst thing that could happen is you sign up for the free trial trying to, sleaze by, be sleazy and be like, I'm only going to do the free trial. And you're like, crap, I love this tool. And then you get stuck paying the $19.99 a month. But it is well worth it. A couple hits pays for itself. So go check out Outlier, guys. That link is in the description. Let's go ahead and get to today's slate. But first, smash that subscribe button. We had a great June. Regardless of what happens today, we've had a great June. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button as well. Let's go ahead and jump into the first game here. We have the Cubs taking on the Guardians. Cleveland coming off of taking 2 of 3 against Kansas City, losing, and I believe extra innings yesterday. We were on the wrong side of that, of course. Phillies swept the Cubs, so the Cubs kind of feeling like, oh, geez, what are we doing here? But let's not forget that they did have a little bit of a run in them prior to that, playing some decent baseball, and they just kind of had a slide against the Phillies. I'm actually going to lean towards the Cubs here. Minus 165. It's a lot of juice to be paying the Cubs, but I have 2 reasons as to why I'm looking at this. First off, Quantrill on the mound for Cleveland. 2-4 with a 5.61 ERA and a 1.4 WHIP. Not all that great, right? Andy's coming off of, I believe, a shoulder injury. They put him on the DL, and obviously he's expected to make the start today, so it's not that big of an injury, but an injury nonetheless. And then Justin Steele on the mound for the Cubs here. He's a lefty. Cleveland does not bat lefties all that well. Only 230 on the year against lefties. On base percentage is low as well. Barely hitting home runs against them, and almost barely scoring any sort of runs against them as well. So definitely a team that struggles against the lefty. So for those 2 reasons, I'm on the Cubs side of things. And if I was on Shark Tank and you're trying to convince me to bet the Cleveland Guardians today, I'd say for those 2 reasons, I'm out. In terms of the total, we're looking at 8.5 runs. I do lean slightly towards the under just because I do think Cleveland's going to struggle offensively, and it's not like this Cubs team has proved, that they can go out there and score a consistent allotment of runs. So I'm going to lean towards the under as well. All right, Cincinnati, one of the more fun teams in the league right now, taking on the Padres, who have just been disappointing. They've lost 2 of their last 10, get swept by Pittsburgh, which is just kind of crazy. They did have the lead yesterday for a little while, and Pittsburgh comes back and wins it. I'm leaning towards the Reds today. I'm going to trust Graham Ashcraft on the mound. He is 3-6 with a 7.17 ERA and a 1.67 WHIP. All of those numbers would be like, what are you doing? Why are you trusting that guy? But I don't think that's totally indicative of how he's been performing this season, to be completely honest. And it's not like I'm going to trust Lugo on the mound all that much either. Yes, he's played better this season than Ashcraft in some spots, but Ashcraft during that Reds run looked pretty good, right? So let's hope that he gets back to that there. And again, it's plus money for the Reds right now, plus 120. I think they're the hotter team. The Reds hot. and playing the, let's see if we get the, there we go. But they're red hot here, and the Padres are just ice cold. So I'm fine, comfortable leaning towards the Reds. Keep an eye on the pinned comment to see if we do make it a final play. I just think that, the Padres have to prove that they can win a game before I even consider betting them right now, regardless of who's pitching for them. Their offense has been just stinkers, inconsistent ever since they dropped the 10-run game and then the 13-run game. It's blanking me who they were playing in those two games. I think San Francisco is one of them. They just haven't had a consistent offense. So on that note as well, I'm going to lean towards the under 11. I know that this Reds team has been scoring a bunch of runs as of late, or at least way more consistent than this Padres team, but to me, 11 is just a little bit too high. Even with these pitchers on the mound, I get why the line is there. It's just too high for me to pull trigger on, so I'm going to lean towards the under as well as Cincinnati. And I almost forgot to talk about our ride of the day. Nick probably wishes I did forget about it, but Zach Greinke over 2.5 strikeouts. That's a big womp womp there. I actually had this pick already in one of my sleeper slips, 3-man or 2-man sleeper slip, guys. If you've checked that out over on TikTok or Instagram Reels, I loved this pick yesterday. So I was like, when I saw this in the ride of the day, I was like, hell yeah, I'm already kind of on that myself, right? And Nick, we got burned, man. Greinke goes out there, he pitches through 6 innings, which, if he gives you 6 innings, you should expect 3 Ks from him, right? Nope. Finishes with 0 strikeouts. Tough look for Greinke there. And he was pitching okay, definitely getting batted around a little bit. I think he let up like 10 or 11 hits, so he was getting batted around, but that score stayed low. He was doing his job, just not striking guys out. So unfortunately, that was a lost ride of the day, guys. If you do want to be the ride of the day, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me an absolute banger. I love that pick yesterday, so I'll jump on board with you guys if I do like the pick, but you got to face the womp womp if you lose. If you win, we celebrate it, we do the applause, the cha-ching, we have a good time, but if you do lose, you got to face the womp womp. So enter at your own risk, but use hashtag ride. I cannot talk this morning. Use hashtag ride of the day in the comments, guys, and I'll be jumping on board with one person's picks. Let's keep going with the slate here. All right, we have Philadelphia taking on Washington. We don't know who's the starter for Washington as of yet, but we do have lines, probably because Vegas is like, who cares? Phillies are better than Washington, which is kind of where I'm at as well. Minus 175 seems like a lot of juice, but it really isn't. This Phillies team's playing good. They've won 5 of their last 6 games here. They've won 4 straight games. They just swept, like we just said, they just swept the Cubs. Yeah, I guess Washington's playing good baseball, but they haven't really been tested as of late. They're coming off of a series against San Diego. Okay, San Diego's been stinking, and they took 2 of 3 against Seattle. Seattle really hasn't been playing all that well either, so I lean towards the Phillies even with that juice. Not exactly sure if that makes into the final plays because of the juice, but the juice makes sense. Like minus 175 is a fine line or fine price to pay here for Philadelphia today. And then in terms of the total 9 runs, I am going to take a peek at the over. Again, we want to know who is on the mound for the Nationals prior to going into this, but even, I don't really care all that much who is. Both these teams have actually had some decent scoring outputs as of late, so 9 runs, I think they can get into double digits today. Again, keep an eye on the pin comment. How many times can I say it to make sure that ends up being a final play? And in terms of the pin comment, we might throw together a nice little Friday parlay. We've hit a couple of those this season, so let me know in the comments if you do want to see a parlay. Again, we don't count the parlays towards the record, win or loss, or even our unit allotment or total, which I, unfortunately, because we've hit a couple of them, I think the most recent one was the plus 750 something one, which I would love to have in the the bank here for our record and whatnot. But yeah, let me know in the comments, guys. Again, we don't count them towards records, but parlays are fun. If you're playing parlays, for the long term, you either got to be really good or you do just enjoy the fun of parlays, because they are damn fun. So let me know in the comments if we do want to run with a parlay today. All right, we have Pittsburgh taking on Milwaukee. Beto on the mound for Pittsburgh. He's 0-1 with a 3.5 ERA and a 1.5 whip. Peralta on the mound for Milwaukee, 5-7 with a 4.6 ERA and a 1.33 whip. Obviously, he can be way more talented than his numbers would indicate there, as we've seen plenty this season, and I'm going to kind of hope that that's the case. I'm going to look at Milwaukee today, minus 140 on the road here. They've been playing good baseball, though. I will say Pittsburgh's been playing good baseball as well. They just swept San Diego. They've won 4 of their last 6 games, but Milwaukee has actually won 4 of their last 5. They're playing really good baseball here, winning 6 of their last 10 against some decent teams. So I'm going to trust that they kind of keep that going here. And then in terms of a total, 8.5 runs, I'm going to go towards the under. I think Peralta's going to do his job today. And I kind of think that, this is going to be like a 4-2, 4-3 type win, which is well under that 8.5 total. So I'm going to lean towards Milwaukee as well as the under. All right, you have Baltimore taking on Minnesota. I think this is going to be a very good series here, guys. Baltimore starting Kramer today, 8-3 with a 4.5 ERA, 1.3 WHIP. Pablo Lopez on the rock here for the Twins. He's 3-5 with a 4.41 ERA. Both these teams kind of in a little bit of a slide here. So this series, or this game, you know, to start here, is going to be an indicator of, okay, what team is going to start to pull out of this. And it's worth noting that they're playing each other in there's one series splitting this series and the next series that they have. So worth noting there as well that these two teams may have a little bit of something going on here after one series, and then it's like, oh, we'll get them back type of revenge. So could mean a little bit more than normal. Not saying it will, but it could. But I am going to lean towards Baltimore in this one. I like Kramer on the mound for them. Yeah, he's had his ups and downs, but nonetheless, I do lean towards them. I think that they're just a little bit more offensively put together as of right now. This Twins team, if I read their last, few games here, 0 runs scored, 2 runs scored, 1 run scored. They get swept against Atlanta. Obviously, Atlanta's a really, really good team, but nonetheless, sweeping and you're barely scoring any runs. At least Baltimore has scored 10 runs, then they have the slide of 1 run, and they score 7 runs. So I'm just looking at them to put out more runs than the Twins today, and that's kind of how I'm looking at it, an offensive barn burner. So I'm going to lean towards the over as well. It's sitting at 8.5 right now. I do like the over in this one. I think this one gets up into, the 7 to 5 type range. Baltimore with the victory. All right, Toronto taking on the Red Sox. Tough to be a Red Sox fan as of right now. They've lost 5 straight games against 2 teams that they probably could have beat. Like, they could beat the White Sox. They lose 2 of 3 there, and then they can definitely beat Miami. They scored 3 runs in that entire series. In their last 4 games, they scored a total of 4 runs. So I don't really know where I come out on this. I don't think Toronto is necessarily worth the minus 140 today. James Paxton's on the mound for the Red Sox. He's actually been pretty good this year. Berrios is on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays. So I am going to kind of stick away from a side. I wish, that we're looking at either a Red Sox or Toronto lean here, because I think that there is some value in this. I just haven't found it yet, and that's just me being transparent. But what I do like is the under 9 runs. Both these pitchers are well capable, and it's not like either of these offenses. We know the Red Sox offense isn't cooking, right? This Toronto offense also isn't cooking. Yes, they have a couple high-scoring games within their last 10, but they also have a couple 0 spots within their last 10. So, those are outliers. I like the under here just based on 2 capable pitchers and 2 offenses that are definitely struggling as of late. All right, guys, before we continue on with this slate, allow me to take 2 seconds and wake you up by telling you about an app called Sleeper, guys. Speaking of parlays, right? Sleeper is a DFS player prop selection app like we've seen, like the Prize Picks and the No House Advantages all across the internet right now. These things are hot because they're super fun, so it makes a lot of sense. I've been loving these as of late, but Sleeper does it different. Each and every individual square has its own multiplier, so they don't follow the normal pick format and payout format like Prize Picks does or No House Advantage. All these ones where it's like 2 for 2 pays 3 times, 6 or 6 pays 25 times, that type of thing. No, Sleeper, you can actually win up to 100 times over there because each play has its own multiplier. Like yesterday, we didn't hit it because Zach Greinke didn't come through for us, but we put together a 2-man slip for 3.5 times, and all we needed was 3Ks from Greinke to cash it. So it is really cool. You can use the link in the description. I'll also put it in the pinned comment for 100% of your first deposit matched, but I will be continuing to talk to you guys about Sleeper for the foreseeable future because I love when I promote something and then I get comments being like, wow, you were right. This app is really cool. It's awesome, which it is. It's super, super fun. So make sure to check that out, guys. I'm putting Sleeper picks out like pretty much every single day over on TikTok and Instagram Reels as of right now. So make sure you check me out over there. But yeah, go sign up for Sleeper. If it's legal in your state, you will not regret it. It's a very, 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 very fun app, and I've been loving it as of late. Again, I love the dynamic multiplier, meaning every total slip you put together should have a different multiplier to some degree. So check it out. Link in the description as well as the pinned comment. Let's get the train back on the tracks. All right, we have the Mets taking on the Giants. Honestly, I'm not spending too much time in this game. I think this is a Giants game all day long. The better pitcher, they're playing better here. I like them. I think they're going to score a boatload of runs too against Carrasco on the mound for today. He's been letting up plenty of runs. Don't really love his spot. I think this Giants team is going to knock him around. So I lean towards the Giants in this one. Minus 118 odds. I think you're getting some decent value there as well. And yeah, simple as that. I like the over as well as the Giants. Maybe I'm foolish for not really spending that much time in this one, but the Giants, as they were playing really good baseball, they started to slide a little bit. This Mets team has been rocky, but the Giants played a team in Toronto that, yes, I just kind of ragged on Toronto when we talked about the Red Sox in Toronto, but Toronto did have a decent series against them, and the Giants still took to one of the 3 games there. So nonetheless, lean towards the Giants. I think you get some good value as well as the over. Maybe the Mets go out there and prove me wrong, but I think the Mets are going to Met. Atlanta taking on Miami. Yes, Miami had the good series against the Red Sox, but I don't think that that is necessarily much to brag about as of late. Hoeing on the mound for Miami, and we're still waiting on a pitcher for the Braves, so we do not know necessarily who's pitching for them. I still lean towards Atlanta. They're just playing really good baseball, and you got to trust them at this point. They've won 9 of their last 10 games, one of, if not becoming the best team in baseball. Hot take maybe, but I don't know. Like, they're playing really good baseball. I would like to see them play some like harder competition. Now, they did take 2 against Philly and then took 2 of 3 against Cincinnati when Cincinnati was red hot, but nonetheless, outside of that, it's been a Minnesota sweep. Then it was Colorado before that, so it's like kind of like, okay, maybe they're getting served things on a silver platter, but a couple good series in there, so I do still trust Atlanta. The juice is really high right now at minus 190, so that's kind of tough, but I don't hate them on the run line if we know who's pitching, and I kind of sign off on it. Atlanta, when favored at minus 1.5 here on the run line, they've covered that in 7 of their last 10 games, and they've covered it in 3 straight games. They covered it every game against Minnesota, and I think Minnesota, you could definitely argue, better than Miami, right? So minus 1.5 for even odds over in FanDuel right now. I'd consider Atlanta on the run line. And then in terms of the total 9.5 runs, I don't want to give a take or lean on that yet just because we don't know who's pitching. 9.5 though, I would start to lean towards the under if any of the decent pitchers are on the mound for the Braves. But again, I'm just not, I don't necessarily know who's up or who's ready for them. So we'll figure that out later on and I'll let you know in the comments if I do end up rolling with something on the total. All right, Texas taking on Houston. Houston hit for us yesterday. They win that game 14-0. Told you I had a good feeling about their run total over 4.5. Well, they scored a million runs again, 14-0. They've been scoring a boatload of runs as of late. Gray on the mound for the Texans for Texas today, 6-3 with a 2.89 ERA, 1 flat whip. Blanco on the mound for Houston. I know everyone and their grandmother is going to be on Houston today, but I am actually going to take a peek at Texas. Yeah, they lost 2 of 3, or no, they lost 2 of 4 against Detroit, which is like a bad look, but I still think this Texas offense, and whenever it clicks, all of a sudden they just start rocking and rolling. And Blanco today, I don't necessarily think is going to hold this offense down, so I slightly lean towards Texas. And I want to pull the trigger on the over here, but using the Outlier app, you could see where this money is. Let me show you guys really quickly, or I'll get my myself out of the way. But check this out, guys. 97% of the money on the under today over on Outlier. So it skeeves me out a little bit knowing that sharps are all over the under because I like the over. I think both these teams are, kind of firing. So do we fade the money? I'm not exactly sure yet because even the public, is kind of 50-50. So I know it's not what you want to hear, but I don't know where to make out on this over 9, so I might just stick away from it here because I want it to go over. My numbers say go over, but sometimes you got to take into account that, these sharps or heavy hitters or very influential sports bettors to sports books kind of know what's going on here. So nonetheless, I do think that Texas edges out here and we take the win there, which could be a little crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if people in the comments are like, no, Houston's going to win this game, but I think it's a Texas game all day long. And by Texas, I mean Texas Rangers. Not Houston, Texas, right? We're clear on that? Or am I just like playing both sides? Someone from Texas, the Texas team is going to win this game. You gotta love when we have instant classics like this. Colorado taking on Detroit. The 32-51 Colorado Rockies host the 35-45 Detroit Tigers. I'm going to lean towards the under in this game. You guys know how I like to roll with these Colorado home games here, and I don't think either one of these offenses are going to look all that good. I think that, you're looking at a Detroit team that, yeah, they scored a decent amount of runs against Texas. I understand that. In their 2 wins, they scored 7 runs and 8 runs, but I don't really think that that's going to hold true here. So my only lean on this game, not really picking a side, but I'm going to lean towards the under. Not even really all that worth looking into pitchers because neither one of these teams really have a stud or anything like that, but I lean towards the under 11.5. I doubt it becomes a final play, but wanted to give you guys at least something on this game. All right, now we have the Royals taking on the Dodgers. Miller on the mound for the Dodgers, Marsh on the mound for the Royals. I do think that this is an LA spot, but obviously the juice is going to be crazy. Minus 215 is your best bet over on DraftKings right now. So I'm going to lean towards LA, but it may be some sort of parlay piece or something like that. We did talk about the parlay. Again, let me know in the comments if you do want me to throw out a parlay, guys, for Friday here. But nonetheless, I do think that this is a good spot for that. And I also think for the Dodgers to kind of be a piece of a parlay. And I also think the under hits it. I don't think that the Royals are going to really hold their own. So I think this Dodgers team, they're going to have to give you a bunch of runs if this over is going to hit. And they could do that. I just don't think it's necessarily a thing that's going to happen. So I'm going to lean towards the under as well as the Dodgers. All right, here we go. We got the Cardinals taking on the Yankees. I think this one's actually going to be a pretty good series here. Yankees coming off of winning 2 series in a row, actually 3 in a row if I'm not mistaken. So I think that that's actually a pretty good look for them. Maybe they're starting to heat up a little bit. I do look at the Cardinals and say, okay, I think that this is a good spot for them to kind of bounce back after losing 2 straight against Houston. But that was, a Houston team that was going off. Like in that second game of that series, the Cardinals actually scored 7 runs. And they lost 10-7. You know what I mean? So I'm actually going to kind of fade my original thought of the Yankees are getting hot and look at St. Louis for this game. They have a lefty on the mound, and the Yankees don't hit lefties all that well. 227 on the season there with a 319 on base percentage. So I don't really think that they're going to score many runs today. So I lean towards the Cardinals. I'm fading myself. Like I thought that the Yankees would win this game. The odds are pretty much a pick 'em at this point, but nonetheless, the numbers kind of tell me otherwise. So I look at the Cardinals as well as the under. I don't think either one of these teams. We're going to see the offense like totally go off. We have seen it as of late, but it's kind of a come back down to earth sort of spot for them here. So I think the Cardinals can go out there and maybe give you 5 runs, and the Yankees give you 3 or 4, meaning we can stay under that 9.5. All right, Angels taking on the Diamondbacks here. Canning on the mound for Los Angeles. He's 6-2 with a 3.9 ERA and a 1.16 WHIP. Henry on the mound for Arizona, 4-1 with a 4.31 ERA. I like the Angels in this spot. The only thing that worries me is they are going up against obviously a lefty there, and they don't bat lefties all the well. It's very similar to righties, so it's not that crazy, but nonetheless, I do think that could be a hindrance. But I think, the Angels are just waiting for a win. They're better than this Arizona team, and they lost 2 straight here against the White Sox, which is like, gotta fire them up to some degree. So I do lean towards the Angels. -150, decent price to be paying. It's a little bit expensive, but I just still do lean in that direction. And then in terms of the total 9.5 runs, yeah, we've seen plenty of runs scored from the Angels, but this Arizona team is way too up and down as of right now to kind of carry their own weight. They did score, 5 runs or 6 runs and then 8 runs, and then all of a sudden they go 2 and 1. So the offense is on the downturn. I don't think that they spike it up today against Canning, so I lean towards the under as well in this game. I think this one is a fairly decent Angels win, so I would also consider them on the run line, but they're just not a run line team as of late when favored. All right, we got the Oakland A's taking on the White Sox. White Sox have not announced a starter yet, and we do not have opening lines or anything yet, which honestly I'm fine with. I don't think we're gonna have a final play on this game anyway, so we can go ahead and move past it to the Seattle-Tampa Bay game. I think this one's going to be a good one right now. Seattle has Miller on the mound, 5-3 with a 3.88 ERA and a sub-1 WHIP, a 0.97 WHIP. McClanahan on the mound, who's obviously an amazing pitcher, 11-1 in the season, 2.2 ERA and a 1.12 WHIP. I want to lean towards the over here because it's 7.5, and all it takes is a hot Tampa Bay team to cover that themselves. So I am going to lean towards the over. The only caveat is that Tampa Bay's offense has been kind of up and down. I feel like they've put it together in their last few games here against Arizona, but nonetheless, I do lean Tampa Bay all day long. You're getting them at -140, so I'm kind of banking on them going out there and scoring a bunch of runs. Does the over make it to the final play? Like I said, that offense is going up and down. You got a couple decent pitchers on the mound here today as well, so I'll probably pass on the over. I do want to take the over, but I think I'll probably pass on that. I think Tampa Bay could be an absolute lock at -140. The only thing that'll keep me off, so if you don't see it in the pinned comments, is that it might be a trap. Like, I might think that this is a trap spot, because Tampa Bay, though, they kind of struggled, they have won 3 of the last 4. They took 2 of 3 against Arizona, and they have their best pitcher on the mound, and it's like, why are they only -140? In Seattle, not the best of offenses. Like I said, they've kind of cooled off ever since, scoring a bunch of runs there. So, yeah, little interesting to think about here. But nonetheless, guys, I do lean towards Tampa Bay, but I hope it's not a trap spot for them here. But, yeah, guys, that's all I have for you guys today. Hopefully you did enjoy the video. If you did, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're following me on my socials. They popped up, right around here for the entire video. MLB Picks on most of them. MLB Picks 2.0 on TikTok because we've gotten banned 3 times. But nonetheless, guys, yeah, go check out those. And that's all I got for you guys. Happy Friday. Everyone enjoy their weekend. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow, all right? Peace out.